Thank you for tuning in to another Miss Burton's book club, live and direct. When else can you use that phrase? I don't think you can. Now, as promised, I do have some books that I recommend, and I'm going to be showing you those today. And I'm going to give you a brief description of why I've enjoyed them, what the book's about, and why I think maybe you should try and get them, okay? Now, most of the books I buy are from Amazon. You can choose options to get them secondhand, which means they come really cheap. Please make sure that you check they will be delivered during this time, because I know some deliveries just aren't going about at the moment. So if you are interested in buying any of the books, then I recommend checking out the delivery date. Okay, so first of all, now this is a book that I read quite a while ago, but I know particularly in year 5 we read a lot of, you were currently reading at school, a Ross Welford book. Ross Welford is a fab author. He's the author of Time Travelling with a Hamster, which has been one of our book club books, but I would recommend reading The 1000 Year Boy. There are lots of stories about people who want to live forever. This is not one of those stories. This story is about someone who wants to stop. Alfie Monk is like any other nearly teenage boy, except he's 1,000 years old and can remember the last Viking invasion of England. So when everything Alfie knows and loves is destroyed in a fire, and the modern world comes crashing in, Alfie embarks on a mission to find friendship, acceptance, and a different way to live. Which means finding a way to make sure he will eventually die. It's a story about a boy called Alfie, and he is 1,000 years old. He has been around for a very, very long time, and he's been able to stay alive by consuming this life pearl. Now, he also fed a life pearl to his cat, so he's also got a cat that's always around as well. He lives with his mum and meet some friends along the way, which help him because unfortunately there's a fire and he loses his mum, which is quite sad in the middle of the story, but he is able to make friends and create a whole new life for himself. One thing I always like to ask the children after they've read it is what big lesson they took away from the book, and the big lesson I took away from this book, I suppose, is to never give up, really, no matter if you've got nothing, if you feel like you've got nothing left to give them, just don't give up on yourself and your friends. I think that is the big message there. And also say yes to all adventures, because it's great life experience. Next on my list of recommendations is The House of 100 Clocks by Anne-Marie Howell. Now, I really, really enjoyed this book. It's about a girl called Helena, and she's got a parrot called Orbit. Helena and her parrot Orbit are swept off to Cambridge when her father is appointed a clockwinder of one of the wealthiest men in England. There is one rule: the clocks must never stop. Soon Helena discovers the house of 100 clocks holds many mysteries, a ghostly figure, strange notes and stolen winding keys. Can she work out the house's secrets before time runs out? The whole thing is set in 1905, so it's a great look back at history as well. And you get to find out why the gentleman who's very wealthy has to keep all the clocks running. Ooh, it's a fab adventure, and I could not put this book down. What I liked about this book is I loved how mysterious it was, how much you were always guessing what would happen next, what will happen next, what will happen next. And I also really liked Helena, the main character, our main protagonist, because I thought she was really brave. She had quite a lot of courage, and she's got a pet rabbit. And she's got a pet parrot, and for anyone that knows me, I love birds, they are awesome. So she's got a pet parrot, which also makes her really cool. Another thing I liked about this book is it's got really short chapters, just sort of a couple of pages at a time, which is great for when you're dipping in and out of it, because you can feel like you can read a little bit at a time, or you could read lots of chapters and feel like you've read absolutely loads of the book. One thing that's quite sad about this book is you go through a lot of Helena's grief because she lost her mum, and Orbit the parrot really reminds her of her mum. So you sort of go through a journey of grief with Helena, and that can be quite sad in some parts, but it's really sort of nice to get someone else's perspective on that. So it is a really sort of touching part of the story. One big lesson I took from this book is the fact that you sometimes have to let go of things and let them sort of run their course, because if you hold on to the past too much, it will sort of take over you, and you can't sort of let yourself go and be happy. So that is one sort of message I got from this book. Next book is Asha and the Spirit Bird by Jasbinder Bilan. I really enjoyed this book. I think it's probably one of my favourites. Definitely say that about all books. Okay, so I'm going to read the blurb for this book now. So Asha lives on the flood hills. She lives on the flood hills of the Himalayas. Asha lives in the foothills of the Himalayas. Money is tight and she misses her papa, who works in the city. When he suddenly stops sending wages, a ruthless moneylender ransacks their home, and her mother talks of leaving. From her den in the mango tree, Asha makes a pact with her best friend, Jivan, to find her father and make things right. But the journey is dangerous. They must cross the world's highest mountains and face hunger, tiredness, and even snow leopards. And yet Asha has the unshakable sense that the spirit bird of her grandmother, Nanaji, would be watching over her. At the back of this book it says that this book in 3 words is magical, Indian and adventure, which I think sums that up really well. It's really fab to sort of have an adventure in India, and the book's really described very well so that you can sort of see and imagine what it's like to actually be there. My next book recommendation is a book called Dream on Amber. Now, you guys know me, I like a lot of adventure books, but I also like books where you're sort of just thrown into somebody's life, and you see how they deal with things, and you can really sort of empathise with that character, and this is a great book for that. So I'll read you the blurb now. As if her name isn't bad enough, Ambra Alessandro Leola Kimiko Miyamoto. Seriously. Then there's starting a new school, which is tough when you're tiny and half Italian and half Japanese with a cave girl phone. But the hardest thing about being new and small and half of something is if the other half is missing. Her dad has left. And if he's ever coming back, Amber will have to dream up other ways to fill that space. So this book is great. The illustrations are fab. Every page is different, with different little illustrations throughout. It's basically like a diary of Amber and what she's going through. Her sister is having a birthday party, which to Amber's disgust, that's just the worst thing ever. Ugh, her little sister having a party. But her little sister really wants her dad to come. Now, Amber is old enough and mature enough to know that that's not going to happen. But she sort of writes her little sister Ellie a letter from her dad saying, I'm not coming to your party, just so you know, but happy birthday, just to sort of cheer her up. But then Ellie sort of has this wild imagination and it starts telling everyone that her dad is going to come to this party, and lo and behold, he doesn't. Also, she has to join this group in school, which she's mortified about, but there's also an art project which she loves, and for this group at school that she joins, she gets asked to do a piece of art for this competition. Now this competition is massive in the school and it's for the whole school. So she enters reluctantly, and I won't tell you what happens after that, but that is a sort of very exciting part of the story. This story, I want to say not much happens in terms of like, she doesn't go on like some wild adventure, but I couldn't put this down. I just kept reading it. I just kept wanting to know what was going on in Amber's life. I was sort of so into the story and her sort of story in her life that I couldn't put it down, so I really enjoyed this one. I just put myself in the eye with the book. I sort of really wish I'd read this book when I was in high school, or when I was in year 6 ready to go to high school, because it sort of gives you a good indication of what it's like to go to a new school where you don't really know many people, and you sort of go on that journey to preempt what's going to happen when you go on that journey. Not that it happens in the same way every time, but that's what a fab thing about that story is. And a big lesson that I took from this story is to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid, be yourself, because that's the best person you can be. There's no point in trying to be somebody else. So this book, The Highland, Falcon, Theif by M.G. Leonard and Sam Sedgman. Really fab cover for this book. It's like gold on it, and it shows the two sort of main characters here, and it's also beautifully illustrated by Elsa Paganelli. Okay, who has also illustrated The House of Chicken Legs. So there you go. She's put some really fab illustrations throughout the book, so you get to sort of see what the characters look like and what the author wanted the characters to look like, and it shows you the train as well, which it is set on, which is unusual. So you don't have to sort of spend loads of extra, you don't have to waste loads of extra imagination trying to imagine it all up, because you can sort of see it's all sort of set out in a way that the author wants you to see it. Which I think is quite good, especially if you're not like that. Oh, there's even a map. Yeah, especially if you're not that sort of train orientated like me. I've not really been on a lot of trains. Okay, so here we go. Here's the blurb. All aboard, you're holding a ticket to an incredible new mystery adventure. Harrison Beck and his uncle Nat are enjoying the final journey of the Highland Falcon, Britain's most famous steam train. But when a precious jewel goes missing, Harrison and his new friend Lenny find themselves at the centre of the investigation. Can they solve the mystery and catch the culprit before they reach the end of the line? Okay, so that is the blurb. Ooh. So this is Lenny here, and this is Harrison. Now they are our two main characters, although, spoiler alert-ish, you don't meet Lenny for quite a long time. But there we go, there's Harrison, he's fab. Ooh, hey, I'm Harrison. So first of all, you get Harrison, who's called Howell, by the way, in the story. You get him sort of being like, oh, I don't really like trains, why do I have to go on this with my uncle Nat? And then by the end of it, he is such a train enthusiast. And there's actually like going to be sequels of this book, and it gives you a little sneak preview of it at the back, which is quite cool. That's not out yet though, so don't get too excited about that yet. So yeah, you even meet royalty on this book, so you really do go on a great adventure throughout the whole story, and you travel the country, which is cool because you feel like you actually are there, because you can sort of see it all happening, because you've got the map of the train, and you've got sort of pictures of the characters, so you know what everyone looks like, you know where you are, you know exactly where it's set, and the description is fab too. There are some seriously cool illustrations in this book. Really makes you feel like you're actually on the train. There you have it. They are my top 5 book recommendations for you to purchase on Amazon or even eBay, something like that. Okay, you can buy these books secondhand so that they are relatively cheaper, but they are all sort of in the region of £5-6. I'd recommend the books to children of age 8 and up, and yes, when I say children I mean you grown-ups as well, because I've really enjoyed them all. That's why I'm recommending them now. So thank you for tuning in to Miss Burton's book club, and I'll see you next time.